Houston, this is a space station. Ready for the event.
WGME-TV, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is WGME-TV. How do you hear me?
Loud and clear. Welcome aboard to the space station. Great to be with you again.
Thank you so much, Chris. First of all, I would like to say it is such an honor and a privilege to be able to talk to you again aboard the ISS. So thank you, and to NASA for making this possible.
Absolutely. My pleasure. My time is winding down, so I'm very happy to talk back with my home state there in Maine.
Well, let's talk about that a bit. It must seem almost unreal to you that this mission is about to come to a close. How are you feeling as that date approaches?
You know, it's interesting. I get asked that often these days, and the time has gone by so incredibly fast. It feels to me, honestly, like I've been here 3.5 months or so instead of 5, just north of 5. But I'll be really sad to leave next week. This is an incredible experience. This place is an amazing laboratory. But by the same token, I'm ready to go. It's time for some other people to come and do their thing and have their opportunity. And I'm really excited to go back and see my friends and family.
As they are excited to see you, I am sure, Chris. Tell us a little bit about some of the highlights, if you could. I'm sure there are many over the last 5 months. But for you, what's going to stand out about this mission?
Well, that's so hard to answer, but some of the obvious ones are one night when Chris Hadfield, Tom Marshburn, and I went to bed thinking it was going to be a normal Friday when we woke up the next day, and we were told we were doing a spacewalk the following day. That was certainly a highlight, and Tom and myself getting an opportunity to go out and fix the ammonia leak or be part of that whole process. And then being up here with the international crew, to me, is a highlight, even though that's not a one discrete event. It's just the whole daily interaction with Canadian, Russians, Italian, and NASA colleagues. It's just been fantastic. And then to right before going to bed, have the opportunity to look out the window and see our planet below us. All those things will just stay with me forever.
If we could talk just for a moment about that spacewalk, there were some dicey moments there where I'm sure your heart was racing. Can you run us through the helmet issue and the water leakage?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a planned, like most are, 6.5 hour spacewalk. And very early into it, about 45 minutes or so, Luca felt the early hint of water on the back of his head, which is totally not normal. Of course, we're sweating and working. We have a cooling system inside, but sometimes we do get pretty hot and sweaty. But to have that much water was really kind of, at first, made us scratch our heads, like, where's it coming from? We're trying to think out loud of where the water would be coming from. And as we're doing this troubleshooting, you could literally see, as I'm looking like 3 feet away from Luca's helmet, I could see the water kind of creeping around the side. And that's when we knew that it wasn't right, and it was time to head back in. And just as luck would have it, the sun was setting at that moment, so it got dark. And when it's dark on a spacewalk, it's pitch dark. And Luca had to get his way back to the airlock by himself because my route had me mandated that I go another way. And so by the time we got back together at the airlock, I could see the water was all inside his helmet, and he could not hear very well or speak. And in some cases not see, but he was still able to breathe, but it was just not a very comfortable feeling for him. And we worked quickly, all of the people on the ground and the rest of the folks inside, to get repressurized and get him back with his helmet off.
And safely. Well, those are the kind of moments when you realize you're not at home anymore, I'm sure, Chris. Tell us a little bit more about some of the experiments that you've taken part in on the ISS and why it's so important to those of us here in America.
Yeah, you know, there's several kinds. There's kinds of experiments that are just going on all the time that we don't have much part in, and there's kind that we are the subjects of, and then there's the type that we actually are the eyes and ears for the scientists on the ground. And those are the ones that are really memorable for me, for us, because we're involved right there with the science. And initially I did a thing called BASS, where we tested the combustibility of certain materials, and every guy likes to play with fire. So it was very small and safe, contained in a glove box right here, but that was really neat. And then another interesting one about changing the shape of fluid containers so that you can force the fluid to go where you want. And the application is a pumpless fuel tank, so you can get all the fuel out of your tank in space. And then the kind when we're the subjects are the ones that apply really to Earth. And we've been really involved with an ultrasound machine testing ultrasounding our spine and heart and things, and the application there is really to use ultrasound in lieu of what you might typically use an MRI machine for really impoverished parts of the world can get the medical care that they might not be able to get.
Absolutely fascinating. Chris, tell me a little bit now about what happens as you prepare to leave the ISS. Is there anything physical that you need to do in terms of preparation?
Well, the physical fitness kind of preparation has been ongoing. If I just started now, I'm too late, and I might as well just quit because I'm behind the power curve. But that's not the case, fortunately. We have a really nice protocol, and we've been working out the whole time. And I feel physically strong to get back. My vestibular system will be all messed up for the first week or 2 weeks or so, and then I'll have to go through some rehabilitation once I'm back to Houston. But right now what I'm doing is just organizing my things. If you were going to take a big trip to some foreign country, you wouldn't start packing the night before, although I don't know, maybe you do. But ideally you pack a little bit before then, and so you have it's rushed. And that's what I'm trying to do right now, making sure I'm not forgetting anything like my Maine lobster right here. I want to make sure I have everything all packed up. It's nice and secure for the flight home.
That's awesome, Chris. All I know is that I would have brought too much stuff, I'm sure. Speaking of Maine, I think it's been terrific how you've managed to stay in touch with your hometown, even taking part in the road race. What has it meant for you to stay connected with folks here in Maine?
Well, it's just really special. As the only astronaut, well, we just selected an astronaut also from Maine, but until just recently, I've been the only astronaut from Maine, and that's a great deal of pride for me to represent our state in the manned space program, and it's something that I think is fun to try to connect back with the folks there, because I'm just a regular Maine guy, just like everybody else. I'm just fortunate enough to be up here and be talking to you on this side of the camera.
What an amazing opportunity for you. What's next for you, Chris, after this?
Well, once I get on the ground and get rehabilitated, there'll be some public relations kind of trips. I think I'm coming through Maine in the first week of November for some schools and things like this. And then a few more trips before, all sort of public relations kind of trips before the holidays. And then I'll get back to my regular day job after the new year in Houston, supporting other folks that are up here doing the mission.
So are you going to miss that view?
Oh, it's hard not to miss that view, but fortunately I have it ingrained in my head, and I've got some wonderful pictures as keepsakes. But really, really is a fantastic view. When you come up from New York City and you see Cape Cod and Maine, and before you know it, you're looking off into Canada and Prince Edward Island. It really happens really quick, and you realize how fast you're going if you imagine driving from Boston to all the way to the down east Maine. So it's pretty amazing up here.
Well, there were a couple times this summer when I was at a dock in Casco Bay looking up at you, and I'm sure that you saw me. So I'm just going to believe that for now and say thank you so much, Chris Cassidy, for joining us. Safe voyage home. Safe voyage home.
Thank you so much. It was great to talk to you today. Take care.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the WGME-TV portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from CBS Radio Network.
Station, good morning. This is CBS Radio Network. How do you hear me?
Hi, Bill. Welcome to the space station. Great to hear you again.
Actually, Chris, this is Peter King, but Bill Harwood will be on the line with us both in just a couple of seconds here. And I guess we have to start with the requisite question of you coming home next Tuesday. And I know there have got to be a mixture of emotions. Are you excited? Are you sad?
Well, you know, I definitely will be sad to go. It's just so incredible and such an honor to be here. But after 6 months, 5 months, you know, it's definitely, you feel ready. I'm excited to get home and see my friends and family and get back to just normal stuff. So it'll be a little of all those emotions.
What are the things you're looking most forward to once you get on the ground, besides the family and friends that you just mentioned? And what are you going to miss the most about not being on station?
I think a gooey, fresh-baked chocolate chip cookie ranks right on the top of my list of things that I'm excited about. And what I will miss most up here is the international camaraderie that exists with a crew like this, sharing meals together, sharing fun days and hard days and cargo days, and just the whole experience with the international crew is just really neat.
Over at the Kennedy Space Center. Chris, a couple of quick ones from me. Mike Suffredini was telling us yesterday that you're going to be doing some simple post-landing exercises, kind of part of the program to see what might be needed for future Voyagers making really long-duration flights, maybe to Mars or something like that. I mean, as an ex-SEAL, I mean, you're obviously in better shape than most, and you've stayed in shape in orbit. But how do you think that's going to go? And tell me a little bit about that program.
Well, at face value, those things, the tasks that I'll be doing are not super complicated. Sitting from sitting in a chair, standing up, from lying down flat to standing up, and some small jumps. I think like just a few basic things that I've all done pre-flight, and they have videoed how my body reacts to those things, and when I'm normally adjusted to 1G, and I'll do those again very soon after landing in the medical tent there in Kazakhstan, and. I'm kind of curious, to be quite honest, Bill. I'm really curious how it will go. I remember how I felt after my shuttle landing, and I think I could have done those. I would have been wobbly, but I would have been able to do those tasks. So I'm really curious to see how it is after this length of time. I don't think physical fitness has that much to do with it as it does neurovestibular kind of things.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. One quick question in terms of what you're looking forward to with landing. You're going to be riding the Soyuz home. Tell me a little bit about what you're looking forward to. That's quite a ride by all accounts.
You know, everybody I talk to has said it's just, I ask them what it's like, and they just shake their head and say, you just got to experience it. So I'm really excited to just experiencing it, but specifically the parachute opening, I've done a bunch of regular parachute jumping with my own body, and I'm curious to see what the opening shock it will be like between the two. Probably much more significant in this case, and then the separation of the compartments too. That's something we train for a lot on the ground, but you really can't sim the real environment. So those two things, and obviously the impact at physical touchdown is a huge moment too. But there's a whole bunch of activities that will take place, and I'll just try to be keeping up on my checklist.
Chris, it's Peter King again, and you mentioned those cargo days a couple of moments ago. A new cargo craft is due for launch from Wallops Island up in Virginia in a couple of weeks, the Orbital Sciences Cygnus craft, and that adds just a little bit more to the mix. Can you talk to me a little bit about the importance of having one more player in the delivery stream?
Well, as with anything, it's nice to have alternates and backup plans. Things can go wrong with any vehicle, and not even in the space program. Your car, it's nice. That's why you and your wife probably have two cars. so you can back each other up, and that'll be the case here. You know, we'll have multiple ways to get cargo to space, and we'll be increased the crew to 9, for example, here in a few months, and those are the types of instances where we really got to be prepared for having additional water, additional food, the clothing to support all those people, and then the experiments and everything else that goes on is involved with keeping this place running like a well-oiled machine that it is now, which I truly believe we're really firing on all cylinders in terms of getting the most out of this place and maintaining it at the same time. It's amazing what the engineers and the ground controllers can do, and we can help out as best we can from up here.
Between Russia, ESA, JAXA, SpaceX, and now Orbital Sciences, and I'm counting 5 delivery streams here. I'm wondering, has the program made up or more than made up for losing the delivery capability of the shuttle just yet?
Well, maybe if you add up all that weight and volume, you're probably close to even. I don't know the exact numbers, but the physical size of some of the components that the shuttle can bring up, we're not quite there yet. So the shuttle was a really, really cool machine, and the capabilities that it had to allow us to build this thing and have me be able to fly from the JLP, come down, make a corner, another couple corners, and zip all the way down to the Russian segment, and do that takes about a couple minutes to go that length, and the shuttle was certainly the workhorse to get us to allow us to do that.
Hey, Chris, Bill Harwood, one more time. Got a question about ISS extension. Boeing's doing an engineering analysis to look at what might need to be done to get stationed to 2020, and then there's a lot of talk about possibly operating it all the way to 2028, the 30th anniversary of the first module's launch. What's your sense of that? I mean, I realize you have a very narrow-angle view up there, but what's your sense of the station's ability to do that? And what would you say to those who might argue that it would make more sense to spend that money on something else after 2020 and to let the station go?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and you know, when you come down to it, I think mechanically, physically, this place will have no problem getting to that date. It's more a question for our lawmakers and the big picture of how we see our space program going in terms of we're given a budget. Every agency, every government organization has their budget, and you got to make decisions based on that. And at some point, we have to figure out what we can do with our given allotment of money and make the best for it, whatever the goal is for it. My personal opinion is this place is a fantastic laboratory, and like I said, it's really, really ticking well right now. And we need to just keep on taking advantage of this place while we can. Because I think it can no problem make it to the date that you mentioned.
Chris, it's Peter for at least one more here. You know, you had an incident last month where you spotted a UFO of sorts that turned out to be a piece of the old Russian Zvezda. Now, how cognizant, we know you're pretty cognizant of what's out there in terms of earthbound objects, and you spend a lot of time looking at the Earth. I'm just wondering how much time you spend looking in the other direction for things that might not be from our planet, that might be something else.
Well, for some reason, there's a big blue magnet for my eyes, and as soon as I try to lift that gaze off the edge of the horizon, my eyeballs get sucked right back to Earth. Maybe the force of gravity affects my eyeballs from space, because I can't stop looking at Earth. And the farthest I every now and then I look off into the skies and the stars and gaze off in that direction. But to be quite honest, 99% of my time is looking right down at the planet. And when we saw that floating antenna cover, it was really interesting. It was just kind of hovering right above the service module. We knew it was a cover of some sort, but it had no rate at all. It was really cool to see. It just kind of slowly drifted away. It took forever for it to separate from us.
Chris, a yes-no quick question. You've been up there for some 5 months plus. Would you like to go back and do it again?
Yeah, I would. The answer is yes, and I would talk to my family and my wife about that. But if it was just me, I would say absolutely yes. I'd come back, no problem. I'd love to.
Great. Well, great speaking with you. Have a safe trip home, and we will look forward to speaking with you when you get back down on the ground.
Thanks so much, Peter and Bill. Nice talking to you. See you soon.
Thank you.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you, WGME-TV and CBS Radio Network. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.